She didn't fall in love because you were kind. She became obsessed because you confused her. This is the brutal truth that few men have the courage to face. Female obsession rarely springs from comfort. It springs from well-planned emotional chaos. In a world where logic and predictability are the safe zone for those who live on autopilot, the man who masters the unpredictable becomes an irresistible enigma. Not because he's better, but because he understands the psychological anatomy of desire. You're about to cross the line between the man who responds to love and the strategist who provokes it. Feminine nature is shaped to decipher signals, to sense what's unsaid, to sense risk where others see safety. And that's exactly why you, being predictable, always lose to the guy she never fully understands. Nietzsche wrote, "What is done for love is always beyond good and evil." And here, we're not talking about ethics. We're talking about magnetism, about the kind of attraction that crosses morals and plants doubts where there were once certainties. What you're going to learn in this video is not dirty play. It's emotional engineering based on reality. If you're expecting sweet advice on how to be more cute and considerate, leave now. This video is for those who want control, and control costs deconstruction. The next few minutes won't turn you into a good catch, but rather into a figure who occupies her mind without asking for permission. Get ready to learn the 5 triggers that turn desire into need and attraction into addiction. And by the end, you might realize that it's not about winning her over. It's about not letting her get away. Because, believe me, that's power. Strategy 1. The silence that screams, the 14-day ghost. Do you want to occupy her mind? Disappear. Not out of anger, not out of pride, but with strategy. A man who disappears without warning doesn't just leave a void. He leaves an open wound that her mind tries to sew together with assumptions, doubts, fears. Absence, when orchestrated after a period of intense connection, becomes the most powerful weapon of emotional domination. Not because she will miss you, but because your absence will force her to confront the most devastating idea, that of not being enough. That's when the game changes. While you retreat for 10 or 14 days, without justifications, without drama, she lives an internal cycle of chaos. Has he lost interest? Has he found someone else? Did I do something wrong? Questions that repeat themselves like a corrosive mantra. Her mind becomes your prisoner. And the most curious thing? She locks the door herself and swallows the key. No message, no explanation, no reaction. You become a mystery, and mystery is the fertile ground for obsession. Schopenhauer's philosophy already pointed out that desire is born from absence, from lack, from the void that needs to be filled. And that is why constant presence kills tension, while calculated absence feeds the fire of desire. It is not punishment, it is construction. Only the weak become omnipresent. The strong know how to disappear at the right time, because they understand that true control is not in being remembered, but in being impossible to forget. When you return, nothing needs to be said. The simple fact of being back gives new meaning to everything. Presence becomes a reward, and your attention, previously trivialized, becomes a treasure. Silence, while applied, is not absence. It is presence elevated to the category of art. And if you have the courage to use this weapon, you will discover the power to become unforgettable. Because what disappears but returns leaves a scar, and a scar, my friend, is a memory immortalized in the flesh. Strategy 2. Comparative poison. Summon the X with surgical precision. Nothing stirs a woman's heart more than the suspicion that she is being compared, especially with someone who once had what she is trying to achieve today. The figure of her ex is not just a memory. She is a shadow that scares, provokes, and stimulates. And if used well, this shadow becomes fuel for obsession. But be careful. This is not about provoking jealousy in a vulgar way. It is about activating the competitive instinct in a disguised way, as if sowing a subtle doubt that grows until it becomes unbearable. You don't say, "My ex was better than you." That would be foolish. You insinuate, "Funny, my ex used to make lasagna every Saturday, and sometimes I miss that taste." There you have it. With a single sentence, you have created an invisible arena where she will fight a ghost. This is not about food, it is about positioning. It is about installing in her mind the question that never stops. Does he still have feelings for the other woman? And more importantly, am I up to it? Robert Greene, in The Art of Seduction, shows that one of the most powerful triggers for the female mind is comparison. Women want to be unique, irreplaceable, and when they feel they are being measured, they start to perform, to give in, to surrender themselves, not for pleasure, but for fear of losing their leading role. And this fear generates movement. It generates effort. It generates obsession. This technique works because it is cruel with precision. It does not attack. It destabilizes. The poison is not the X, it is the lack of certainty. What drives her crazy is not that you had someone else, but the possibility that there is still something unresolved. In the female emotional theater, the X is not a rival. She is a mirror, and every woman, when she sees herself in this distorted reflection, tries to erase the image, overcoming it, even if it means forcing herself. Strategy 3. Love in the wrong way. Calculated emotional confusion. Saying I love you has never been the problem. The mistake is in saying it when everything is calm, predictable, and convenient. The true impact of this phrase is when it sounds inconsistent with your actions, because it is in contradiction that the mind breaks, and when it breaks, it gives in. The phrase said in chaos does not relieve, it ignites. Imagine the scenario. You ignore messages, refuse invitations, appear emotionally absent. And in the midst of this emotional vacuum, you blurt out, "You know I love you, right?" said calmly and with a firm gaze. This brings no relief. It creates a labyrinth. Its logic short circuits. If he loves me, why is he distant? If he is distant, how can he love me? And it is in this field of doubt that you plant roots. The human mind, as Ortega y Gasset said, surrenders not to love, but to fascination. And fascination is born from incoherence that reason cannot explain. Love is predictable. Doubt about it is addictive. This tactic is not about lying. It is about using emotional ambiguity as a force of gravity. Every cold gesture amplified by a word of affection creates an almost sexual tension. Her heart does not want to believe it, but the lack of coherence forces her to interpret. And every attempt at interpretation is an attempt to get closer. She wants to understand. And those who seek to understand someone get closer to them, even when they try to resist. The mistake many men make is to offer love as stability. The man who wants to be remembered, however, offers love as provocation, as if to say, "I love you, but even that is in my rules." That is when you stop being just a potential partner and become an obsession in motion. Because while she is trying to understand you, she will not be able to stop thinking about you, and thinking is the first symptom of emotional slavery. Strategy 4. Withdrawal of affection. Strategic weaning that creates addiction. She got used to his kisses, to his firm hands that roamed her body after sex, to his tight hug in the early hours of the morning, to his "good morning, my love, and you're amazing," whispered in her ear. She got used to it, and that's the biggest poison. Because when pleasure becomes constant, it stops being pleasure. It becomes routine. It becomes a landscape. It becomes boredom disguised as affection. That's when the strategist man acts. He withdraws affection, not all at once, but drop by drop. The psychology of addiction shows us that the human brain responds more intensely to intermittent pleasure than to constant pleasure. Experiments with rodents have proven that random rewards generate obsession, while predictable rewards create complacency. This is no different in human relationships. When you start to subtly withdraw affection, one less kiss here, an ignored caress there, you begin the process of emotional weaning. And what does she feel? Withdrawal. She tries to understand. Why is he more distant? Did I do something wrong? Did he lose interest? There is no answer, and it eats away at her. Because when she felt his touch, she felt safe. Now, the absence of his touch is a cruel reminder that something has changed, and the desperation to recover what she lost makes her run, makes her give in, makes her want. The secret is in the cadence. You don't cut everything off. You change the rhythm. And the new rhythm is unpredictable. One day you kiss her intensely, the next, you just turn over and go to sleep. One day a compliment, the next, silence. This instability is not cruelty. It's control. It's pure chemistry. And by applying this technique, you don't just become the center of her attention. You become the emotional dose she needs to breathe again. And the more she needs you to feel, the more addicted she will be. Strategy 5. The Silent Millionaire. Status without fanfare. She doesn't just want love. She wants a narrative, a story where the man by her side not only makes her feel, but projects it. And when it comes to projection, nothing is more seductive than potential. That's where the man who doesn't flaunt, but insinuates, who doesn't talk about money, but leaves traces of ambition, wins. Because true power isn't announced, it's suggested. And those who suggest without delivering dominate the imagination of those who observe. You don't say you closed $1 million deal. You leave an investment book open on the table. You don't talk about the new project. You casually mention that you're spending your nights learning to code. It's in this type of speech that value multiplies. The modern woman doesn't look for a rich man. She looks for a man on the rise. She wants security, but she wants to be the only one who saw the shine before it turned to gold. Feminine hypergamous instincts aren't a flaw. They're an evolutionary strategy. In primitive times, it was a matter of survival. Today, it's psychological. A woman wants to feel that her future is being built by her side. That's why men who demonstrate focus, discipline, and ambition create a much more powerful erotic tension than those who simply offer ready-made status. The power of soon is more seductive than I already have it. But here's the most important secret. All of this only works when there's no promise of a relationship. You're a grand project in motion. She sees you building it. She feels that something big is coming. But she has no guarantee she'll be part of it. And it's this doubt, this risk, this gap between what she wants and what she's not sure she'll have that generates obsession. Perceived value increases when she believes she can lose. Because while others sell themselves, you insinuate yourself. And in the theater of seduction, the man who doesn't offer himself is the one every woman tries to conquer. After all, there's nothing more irresistible than a man who doesn't need her, but still chooses her.